Welcome to video 3 of the Hawksite Getting Started series. First, we need to log back in. In the last video, we went through the configuration of your risk treatment master database. Here are the controls we entered to mitigate our list of threats. In this case, we didn't add a control under redundancy as we didn't believe one was required. We've also left the default ratings for all controls as unsatisfactory, so the unaudited risk assessment will show the risk profile without controls in place. In this video, we're going to show you how to create your first digital security risk assessment, or SRA. To start, you need to set up a new security risk assessment project. Click Projects, and then click on the blue Add New Project button, or right-click on the map at the location you wish the SRA project to be located, and click Add New Project. You now need to complete the new project page. All starred fields must be completed, but the rest are optional. We'll start with the project name. We're going to enter Company A. Now select the project type from the drop-down. We're going to select Corporate Office. Now you can select your project currency. You'll see how this is used for financial exposure later in the video. You have the option of using a previous security risk assessment report as a template, but as you've not yet completed an SRA, there are no previous reports to use. Once you've completed this SRA, it'll be available to you as a template. If you use a template, you have the option of selecting all of the content of a previous report, or one or more of the context, critical assessment, and target attractiveness sections. The threat assessment will be updated from the current Threat Master database based on the location of your project. Next, we need to add a description. We're going to add corporate headquarters of Company A. Now we need to add the company details. Company name as Company A. Now we're going to add a fictitious address of Pottersfield Park, which is not associated with any real corporate office. The website, contact name, contact email address and number can be completed if required, but are not necessary. Next, we need to select a project location type. You can select a point, a line, an area, or multiple points. In this case, we're going to use a single point. To refine the location on the map, add the address or search terms into the search data field. The address field will automatically update to the same. If you wish to receive notifications of new incidents that are close to your new SRA location, add the radius inside which you wish to be alerted and tick Allow Notifications Alert. We're going to set it at 5 kilometers. And to add a logo that can be used in your report, select a file from your computer. And once all this is completed, you can click Save. You'll see that the new project is added once it's been saved, and this may take a couple of minutes if there are a lot of threats and security controls associated with the assessment. Once you click OK, you'll be taken to the Project Risk Portal page. You can edit your report details at any time by clicking the pencil icon at the top of the page. The first tab is Context. Under Context, you have several free data fields. The first is Executive Summary. If you've used a template, this may well be already populated, but you'll be able to edit it. The next is the Location tab. This consists of a location map, Incident Analysis tab, the Gallery, Instant Analysis Gallery, and all of these will be covered in the next video. You'll also see Location Information, which is another free text field that could be used to describe your location. Next, we have Objectives that can show what the project is trying to achieve and how. requirements that may explain any governance requirements, expectations to explain how the project might be viewed from both inside and outside the organisation, previous incidents, which will outline previous security incidents that the project has been exposed to, a security overview to explain the security threats assigned in this SRA in narrative form, an assumptions field to explain circumstances that may need further explanation, and exclusions, which can outline any exclusions agreed for this security risk assessment. You'll see guidance text in each of these free text fields to help you complete these sections if they're relevant to you. Now we need to consider the risk framework. The risk framework consists of consequence. What is the consequence of a security event on the project? The consequence table shows default definitions along a series of consequence drivers. Any of the definitions or financial values can be edited. The financial definitions can be edited using the drop-down. And the data fields can be edited, as we're doing in this case, to change our physical injury definition. You can see in this case that we've linked our account with Grammarly to help us with spelling and grammar checking. Once you've made the changes you require, click Save. We're going to use the default definitions for the rest of consequence. Next consideration is the risk matrix. You can choose a 5x5 or standard matrix. We're going to use a standard matrix. You can also restructure the color banding to represent a higher or low level of risk tolerance. These changes are automatically saved when you leave the page. Finally, the risk level response table is where you can edit the standard definitions that define your organization's response at each level of risk. We're going to change line managers to read regional managers. Now click Save. You can add any relevant files to the Context tab if you require. Your context is now complete, but it can be edited at any time. The next tab is the Threat Assessment tab. Threats have been automatically assigned from those you previously input into the Threat Master database based on the location of your project SRA. You should review all automatically assigned threats to see if there's still relevance to this SRA. If they're not, untick them. If you change your mind, tick them again. If you wish to search for additional threats not automatically assigned to this SRA project, you can search for them using the search fields above. And if you wish to add a new threat, click Add New Threat and complete the data fields as you learnt in video 1. The new threat will be assigned to both this SRA project and to the Threat Master database. Next is the Critical Asset Assessment. To add a new critical asset, type the name of the asset in free text in the Define Critical Asset field. We're going to add employees. Next, type in the asset owner. We're going to add human resources. Next, select the level of critical asset by clicking on the most relevant definition from the table. In this case, we're concerned with the impact of employees on the organisation. And as our employees are our most valuable asset, we're going to select Extreme. Next, we select the asset category, which in this case is people. Now click Add Asset, and you'll see it appear in the list below. Threats are automatically assigned to each critical asset. The consequence is also automatically assigned to each critical asset, but both the threats added and consequence can be edited if required by clicking on the relevant buttons. Next, we need to determine the target attractiveness of each asset to the threats assigned to it. Click Assign to open the target attractiveness page. You need to review all 5 categories of target attractiveness by selecting each in turn and clicking on Select Level. Click the definition most relevant to each asset. You can add notes in free text to justify your assessment, and upload files using the green button. We are considering the target attractiveness of the individual employee, and in this case, we assess a general employee to have moderate visibility, low iconic status, low interdependence, significant threat access due to the controls on the building that they work, and low collateral exposure. Now click Save and Continue. So we've now added the first critical asset to our security risk assessment. Now might be a good time to stop the video and add some more critical assets to your SRA. You might want to review the e-learning on critical assets. We're going to add the office building and the new server room as our examples. So we have added two more assets, the office building and the server room. In a detailed security risk assessment, you may want to add many more. The threats, consequences, and target attractiveness assigned to each asset can be edited at any time by clicking on the relevant buttons. Now we can carry out the risk analysis. Click on the blue Risk Analysis tab to create a security risk register, which summarizes all the data we have entered. The risk level of each threat activity to each critical asset you have entered is calculated by the Hawksite algorithm. Following any change you make to your SRA project, you must click Risk Analysis so that the system can recalculate all the risks in the risk register. The user, date and time is recorded each time the risk register is updated. Now click on the Risk Treatment tab. Risk treatment controls have also been automatically assigned to your security risk assessment based on the security controls you entered into the Risk Treatment Master database. You should review all automatically assigned security controls to see if they're still relevant to this SRA. If they're not, tick the delete icon, and the system will show no risks associated. If you change your mind, click the undo icon. The control will be reassigned and the risks it mitigates will display once again. If you wish to add a new control, go back to the Risk Treatment Master database as you learnt in video 2. To complete your risk assessment, you must now carry out an audit of all the control measures assigned to this security risk assessment. Click on each control in turn across all Protective Security Control and Reactive Security Control tabs. Click on the rating box adjacent to each control and select a rating. We're going to select Satisfactory for the Standard Operating Procedure Access Control as it has not currently been updated. You can click on the Notes icon to add your observations to justify your rating. In this case, we're going to type out of date SOP. And then click Save. If you wish to take a picture from your laptop or tablet, click on the camera icon. You can click on the Recommendations icon to make a recommendation for improvement. In this case, we're going to type Update the SOP. You can click on the Notification tab to assign responsibility for this recommendation to another user, adding a due date and a description of what is required. A list of users in your account will appear here. You can click on the File button to add a file. Now, once you have completed this process for all the controls in your security risk assessment, you will have completed your security control audit. Now let's take another break whilst you complete the security control audit for all of your controls. We've now audited all of our controls and made some recommendations for improvement. You'll see these in the report that we'll produce in a later video. Remember, following any changes you make to your SRA report, you must click Risk Analysis to allow the system to recalculate the risks. Finally, let's click the Monitor and Review tab. In the Monitor and Review section, you will see two versions of the Boston Matrix that you defined under the Context stage. On the left side is the current risk profile, which shows all your current risks in the risk register. On the right-hand side is the residual risk profile. This will show a changed risk profile once one or more simulated changes have been made. You can also see the current and residual financial exposure at the top of each matrix. This number is calculated using the financial consequence figures you entered in the context stage multiplied by the number of risks at that equivalent level. So within this simulator, we can make several simulated changes. We can simulate a change to the level of one or more threats. You do so by clicking on the value box and making the change. So what we're going to do is make a change in malicious mail from low to high based on intelligence that we've received. We can also make changes to the critical asset level. In this case, we're going to change the critical asset level of an office building from significant to moderate based on newly introduced remote working protocols. Now we're going to make a change to the target attractiveness level. We're going to select the office building and we're going to make changes to its visibility from significant to low, as we've made a decision to remove the external company signage. We can also make changes to the simulated value of control level effectiveness of one or more individual controls, or by changing all PSC and RSC controls under the relevant tab. This is often a useful exercise to show what the change in risk profile would be if all controls assigned to this SRA project are implemented at the highest level of effectiveness. In this example, we're going to simulate all controls are excellent to see how this affects our profile. Firstly, we're going to click Protective Security Controls and then change all those controls to excellent. Next, we're going to click on Reactive Security Controls and do the same. Now we can go back to the simulator to see how the residual risk profile and financial exposure has changed. We can see all of the changes listed under the recommendations column on the far right-hand side. Practice making simulated changes within the simulator so you can use it as a tool to support your security risk management planning. So now you've completed your first digital security risk assessment using the Hawksight SRM platform. The next thing we need to do is create the report. In the next video, we're going to show you how to add location mapping and incident mapping and charting to your SRA report.